Shai, you guys had that week coming off the regular season. You've got this other week now. I know it's not really like a training camp, but what do you find most valuable at this time in terms of like maybe comparison to the regular season where shoot around time is limited, practice time is limited, or the things you guys are actually able to work on and accomplish that you might not normally get to?
Yeah, just time to sharpen the screws. You try to find the balance between like working on things and not doing too much, making sure you're fresh and ready for the next round. I think we did a good job coming out the the gates, I guess, for the first round after that break, and hopefully we do the same this break.
Shai, obviously, with the Clippers potentially on the horizon, like I wonder, in the years since you got traded, if you put into perspective at all uh, the fact that they, felt it was worth moving off you, and the fact that the Thunder felt it was worth trading for you. Do you think about that at all? Do either of those things motivate you at all?
They did a long time ago. I haven't thought about them in years though. Can't hold, I guess you can say, grudges forever in life. Like you said, for whatever reason, they moved off me and they thought it was a good idea, and the Thunder vice versa. And those are the cards that I was dealt, and I just try to make the best of them.
Shai, before you were traded here, had you had much contact with like Sam or any of the people sort of behind the scenes?
Before I was traded here?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay. I didn't know if you'd had any contact with them in like draft workouts or anything.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Are you watching the Clippers Nuggets series, kind of taking some mental notes? How do you approach that?
I am, as much as I can. We've seen both teams 4 times this year, so I've kind of got a pretty good feel for them, know what they bring to the table, what challenges they present. Both of those teams are obviously really good basketball teams, and the series is what it is because of that. Just about us being ready for the challenge when the time comes when we figure out who it is.
This has been a good layoff for you guys to kind of rest up, but you're getting a little antsy right now, waiting for that next game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Especially this time of year, you get excited for the games, and you you want a break, but not too long of a break. But yeah, we don't play with games, so if we can get a team out of here in 4, we get them out of here in 4. But yeah, the games are exciting for sure.
How do you deal with that? I don't say that lack of competition. Does that come up in practice? How do you deal with it? Just being away from the game, not playing action.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue. Like this time of year, trying to find motivation when the ball tips in the real games is not hard at all. There's so much on the line. It's what you worked for all summer, all season. So finding that, I guess, that competition, it's pretty easy to get it back as soon as the ball goes up. It's just about making sure you're in like shape, so you can do like drills. Coach tries to make sure we get up and down a fair amount in practice, just to make sure our conditioning stays.
Shai, well, we see you at the end of these practices working out with Dylan Jones. I mean, Dylan is a guy. He said that he feels like you sought him out. Like, why is that? And I guess why are you still at the end of these practices going through drills with him?
I'm working on my game, selfishly, with Dylan. Like, working out with somebody gives you like it's a better, like, for me, I've noticed like it's a in certain situations it's a better feel for for what the game's gonna be, just because like not one time in a game you're ever gonna come down and shoot the same shot 4 times in a row. So like having someone to work out with, having someone to like play off of in a certain drill, having somebody to shoot while you rest or get ready for the next shot is a little bit more game-like. And then I think Dylan's a really good basketball player. Like, he really understands the game more than people may think. And personally, I try to just see where his head's at, what he sees the game. Obviously, unfortunately, he's done more watching than playing this year for us. But he sees a lot, and I try to pick his head. I try to see what he sees. I really expect his basketball IQ and his opinion on the game. And then the kid's a hard worker and wants to get after it. so he jumps in the workouts. But both of us are just trying to maximize our potential on the floor and be the best players we can be. And strides will happen for Dylan very soon because of those things.
Do you think you've been a good vet for Shai, and who's sort of been your influence in terms of how to be a vet to the younger player?
I think I've been pretty good. You have to ask Dylan. He'd have a better answer for you. I try to just be myself. I try not to do anything that I wouldn't do, like with my little brother, with my cousins. Like I try not to be anything other than a teammate and someone that you can lean on if you need. And then influence-wise, I've been around so many leaders, so many really good leaders. Like the formula that I've realized is like they're all different. They all are authentic to who they are and the way they lead, and that's why people respect them. So that's how I try to go about it.
Shay, when Mark was in here a while ago, he was talking about how you are desire to be great, but you also desire to be one of the guys. And he said, you know, as your star has grown, it's probably the gravitational pull would pull you away from maybe being one of the guys. Have you noticed that? Have you had to do anything to sort of counterbalance that, or is that not anything you really noticed?
Yeah, I think I've just like I haven't really made an emphasis on trying to make sure that I stay connected with the guys. I think like part of that is just who I am. Like I think the way that I was raised doesn't allow me to like let that stuff affect me. Like I was always taught, no matter what's going on, like you're no better or worse than anybody. So like that's how I see my friendships, my romantic life. That's how I see everything. And I think that's helped me, I guess you can call it, stay connected to the group, stay grounded. But yeah, the guys make it easy to be a part of. They're super fun, easy to connect with. We have a blast, as you guys can see. Make my life easy.
Mark said he didn't think that trying to stay connected to the locker room, like you just sort of said, it wasn't like a calculated sort of thing for you. But obviously the benefits seem pretty clear. Like, has that sort of just been a side benefit in your mind that, hey, you know, this is who I am and this is how it's all played out? Or do you ever sort of allow yourself to, you know, sort of take the 20,000-foot view and go, okay, this is pretty good. This worked out real well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try to just like, be authentic, be a good person. Like I try to do things the right way with the right intention in everything I do. And like hopefully the chips fall where I want them to when it's all said and done. I think that's kind of how I've like just gone through the process. Like just try to do everything I can in every situation to be the best person, best teammate, best basketball player, best friend, whatever it is. And hopefully I get rewarded for it, and it's gone well so far.
One of your teammates said that you're very serious about your work, very serious about basketball, but when the time's right, you get pretty loosey-goosey. What does loosey-goosey look like?
Probably what you imagine, just joking around, fun. I'm really ever serious when I'm not working out. Working out is the only time I'm serious. And in the heat of battle. But even in the heat of battle, sometimes I'm light just because there's a lot of heat, you know, to even things up. But yeah, I can't be serious in everything. People would hate me. I wouldn't have that much fun with everything. So I try to lighten up things when I'm not working out. But when I'm working out, I'm not the funnest guy to be around. I'm pretty straight to it.
Mark just said that he called you thoughtful. He noted the way you sort of paused before, you know, answering questions, that sort of thing. Do you feel that you become more thoughtful as a person since you've been in the league, and I guess what's led to that?
I definitely have. I would say my wife and my son have like pushed that forward a lot, just because like when you're not like living and doing everything for yourself, like before you live with a spouse and have a child, everything is like on your time. You go wherever you want, whenever you want. You can get up, not make the bed. You can get up, leave the cereal bowl on the table. Like, you can do whatever you want. And the moment that someone lives with you, or the moment you have a kid, like, your life is not yours anymore, and you have to think about, well, for me, I think about my wife and my son before I do myself, and I think that's just like become second nature for me at this point.
Chet did something that was really difficult, basically jumping on a moving train at a team that was kind of different than it was when he left, and he had great success. Obviously, he won her first round series. I wonder, from your perspective, what you observed that the team did to allow that impact to happen. He got playing 29, 30 minutes a night to be able to join the team, and for the team to kind of absorb that and turn it out so well, considering all the different ways that it could have gone.
Yeah, I mean, to be quite honest with you, like, I think the team is like, we're a selfless group of guys, but like, more importantly, like, I think the Chet's so good that like he fit in, like, he comes back so easy. He can come to any situation in the league on any basketball court in the world and make an impact. So like, yeah, we're a great group of guys, but that has nothing to do with it. I think it's the player Chet is, the person Chet is. And at the end of the day, like, he's so good at basketball that whatever four is on the court with him, he's going to make impact and make winning plays. And because he's that good, it's been seamless and it's been easy.
How much of a jumps he made for playoffs this time? I mean, the comeback at Memphis and all that. How much more ready is he for what you guys are hope to go far?
Yeah, he's a world of a better player. Smarter, more physical. Game slowing down for him. Everything I expected out of Chet. Like, the talent alone has always been there, but the work ethic is what makes him who he is. He has the timing, he has the size, he has the feel, but like, there's very few that work more than Chet, if any, and because of that, he's going to make the strides that he is making, and is going to continue to make strides.
This will be the last one. You've obviously played with Lou longer than anyone. I wonder what you've come to learn about his personal journey and sort of the things he sacrificed to be his team's glue guy.
Yeah. Lou. Yeah, I've seen Lou like transform, I like to say. Like, from wearing sweatsuits every day, flip-flops with his toes out, to $1 million clothing, big houses, 4 dogs, every car in a book. Like, I've seen Lou transform, and it's been super fun, and above all, like, through it, he's remained the guy he was the first day I met him. And I don't know if it's taught that. I don't know if that's who he is, but like, that's what makes Lou like so special. He's like if on the outside, Lou seems like a tough, rough, don't mess with kind of guy, but Lou's very kind, very lighthearted, great human being. Like, he plays both sides of the fence perfectly, and because of that, he's brought like an identity and a fierce competitor mindset to our group on the floor, and then off the court, he's just one of the guys. And I think like him being here as long as he has his prints all over our identity, our DNA as a team and as a group. And yeah, Lou's journey's been special, and hopefully I'm here for the rest of it.
And quick follow. I read that, around the time of the lockdown, that he stayed with you. Mm-hmm. What do you remember about that time, and what you learned about him then, and what that sort of said about him, the fact that he moved in with you?
Yeah. What did I learn? Lou and Darius Bays, he hung out a lot at the time. And in the bubble, we were together every day. So like, I pretty much knew everything by then. but we were basketball, eating, going to the gym extra, playing FIFA, and repeating, I guess. It almost felt like a college roommate. So whatever life was like in college, it's kind of what it felt like. Like you just go to the gym, go back with your roommate, eat, kick it, play video games, do it all over again. College without the homework. Yeah. Yeah, it was fun times. All right, guys.
No homework.
Basically, the third training camp that you've had this season. What's this been like to kind of keep the engines going here all week, sort of like you had to do a couple weeks ago?
It's good for us, mentally and physically. Just, coming to the gym and taking what you need, staying fresh, but also like going home to your own room, and not have to worry about going to a hotel or anything. So it's good. It's good for us.
Coach said that today was like the best practice you guys have had all week. What did you feel out there today with the group that kind of set it apart?
We were all flying around, just trying to stay locked in, not knowing who we play. We're getting a little antsy.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just want to be as ready as possible.
Cason, everybody likes to talk about the youth of this team, but one of the things that comes with youth is young legs, young energy. How do you feel like you guys have leaned into that, and how can you lean into that?
I feel like it helps us because, we're young and we're just free. We're just having fun. And at the same time, we have some vets that, can tell us, we need to lock in for this segment or, for this practice. And, we're still, professionals. So we know when to lock in, when to have fun. Our legs, though, we can go all day.
Do you sense in games? I mean, I don't know if you noticed it in the Grizzlies series, but do you sense in games that can really become a factor that can turn games? Has it turned games in your mind this year?
Definitely, say young legs, but AC, he comes in and, he changes the pace every game.
Only 31, Sen.
I mean, on the team, due to the circumstances, I mean, that's just praise to him, just he's the oldest on the team, but he kind of has the youngest legs as far as his energy and, his play style.
Cason, Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein were asked about kind of the physicality in the playoffs, and they mentioned kind of setting the tone physically. How can you do that in the playoffs?
I like to do it picking up the ball. Just being physical with my on-ball pressure, on the pick and roll execution. Offensively, you can bump people a little harder. They don't call anything.
Jason, during the flow of the season, shoot-arounds, practices, they're only so long. You guys really seem to prioritize what you're going to work on and focus on. Has there been anything this week that you felt like, okay, this is really great that we've had a chance to work on this, that maybe, you didn't have a chance to during the regular season, or maybe, leading into round one?
Touching up on some plays that we haven't run in a while. Just keeping our playbook fresh. Keeping everybody sharp on the things that we know, and we're going to need to execute later in the playoffs.
How in tune are you with the Clippers Nuggets series, and do you take notes or mental notes as you watch?
I'm just watching and just enjoying the game, really. When I come in here and we have, game plan stuff against each team, of course I've seen it, so I kind of recognize it, but when I watch it, I'm just watching.
Cason, Mark in here a second ago was talking about how Shai wants to be one of the greats, but he also wants to be one of the guys. Curious if you could break those two things down. What sort of stands out to you when you think about him wanting to be one of the greats? How does that look from a teammate perspective?
Always doing the right thing. Knows how to uplift his teammates, but also knows when to take over and do what he has to do. Always in the gym first. He's the last one to leave the court every day. Always getting extra work. recovery day. He's still getting his work. You know, we have a hard practice. He's going to get his work after. But, yeah, that's just who he is.
What about the flip side of that? Wanting to be one of the guys, what does that look like?
He also jokes around a lot. Off the court, he's more loosey goosey than he is on the court.
Anything else for Cason? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cason.
Mark, just thinking about Chet and the different games that he had in round one, and the opportunity that he's had here, another full week of practice with the guys, just the strides that he's been able to make since the end of the regular season. You often talk about getting better through playoffs, and I just wonder what you've seen from him in terms of getting better.
Yeah, his is more impactful too because of the injury timeline. It took him. He got back about as fast as he could have gotten back, while still being safe. And as a result of that, there was a level of conditioning rust, and then rhythm with the team that he needed to build back up. That we did as well as we could. He did as well as he could, and did pretty well. But it was encouraging to see him play with the impact and the rhythm, individual rhythm, and kind of rhythm inside the team that he did in a playoff setting. It was encouraging for everybody, but definitely for him, just contextually with the injury.
Mark, Chet and Hartenstein talked, the last 2 days about setting a tone, physical wise in the playoffs, and kind of almost dictating what the officials are going to call. How do you do that? How do you set a tone physically?
I just think it's like intensity on each possession. I think that's where the physicality comes from. Like, I don't think the teams are going into the games and saying, we're going to try to be more physical in these exact situations. I just think everybody's playing every possession with maximum effort and intentionality. And when you play the same team over and over again, there's just like a cumulative edge that builds over time. I mean, the familiarity and then the competitiveness of the series as it goes deeper, that just tends to be how it is. And as you watch how our series unfolded in the first round, but certainly watching these other series, I think that's holding true.
Mark, I think this happened while you guys were practicing, but Greg Popovich announced he's retiring today. I mean, obviously he's been a fixture in the league for so long. What goes through your mind as you think about him no longer being the coach of the Spurs?
I just think there's certain people at different points in time that change the game and change the league. And from a coaching standpoint, he's certainly one of them. Stylistically, the way that they embraced international basketball happened at a time when the international influence on the NBA exploded. They were kind of at the forefront of that and had success doing that. And then just the humanity that he coached with, I think, was a real tone setter. Whereas coaching sometimes is seen as this, like, you sleep in your office, you drink your coffee, you hold the players accountable, you do your job. I mean, he kind of transcends that with the types of relationships that he builds with the players. And then the last thing I would say is just looking around the league now, it's almost every organization has a Spurs influence, no more than us. But the way that program and organization kind of spawned off into, I mean, they've literally changed the league. He's changed the league. And then on a personal note, although I don't know him well, it's always interesting when you're one of the younger coaches in the league coaching a rebuilding team to see how people treat you and the grace and dignity and respect that he showed somebody in that position that he didn't need to really, he's kind of above that if he wanted to be. I always just really appreciated that about him, just personally as well.
Do you feel like what you do and how you're able to do your job has a direct link to how he did his job for so many years?
I think, if you're coming up in coaching and in the league, you're obviously keeping an eye on what works and seeing the different ways that you can do it. And like I said, with the humanity that he coaches with, the integrity that he has as a person, the authenticity of the man, it kind of gives you that menu option. And it's kind of counter to the generic NBA coach, but he kind of transcended that in a way that made that accessible to the next group of coaches coming up.
The humanity part specifically, maybe the way you've tried to do that is not directly linked to him, but like, how have you tried to sort of have that impact, the humanity part specifically?
There's a pressure, I think, that you have to like play the role of the coach, like it's a character that you have to play, and you have to be tough, and you have to be, whatever. And he's tough, and there's a level of accountability, but there's also a level of authenticity to the way that he does the job that I think shows that you can operate like that and still have massive success like he did.
Mark, I need to do the rest of my homework on this, but there's been very few series in NBA history where a team's coming off a sweep, playing against a team that went to 7 in the round before. I imagine this is one of the longest playoffs, possible. Like, what do you think of that dynamic? Just having 9-10 days off versus playing a team that is going to play Game 7 tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's the same as the first round in that, it's kind of rest and recovery up against, a team that's been in edgy situations all week, and so we'll see how that, bears out, not just in game 1, but in the course of the series. But that's really what it comes down to is, we're going to be very rested and recovered and healthy, and they'll have played high leverage games all week while we've been practicing. And there's obviously trade-offs to both, but that's just what it is. We're just trying to maximize our situation.
Is the travel another element of that? Just being able to be here at your home base in your facility versus going back and forth?
Yeah, it's definitely part of recovery. Like the cumulative travel, it bites into recovery for a number of reasons: sleep, resources, and just like the psychological comfort of being in your own bed. So even if you look during the regular season, those long stretches of road games and a lot of travel in a condensed period of time, it impacts your ability to recover. And so us being home for the stretch of time that we've been home, again, has maximized recovery, but we haven't played a game 6 this week the way that they have, and a game 7 on, whatever tomorrow is. So there's advantages, disadvantages, and, each team has to leverage their own situation to try to play their best in the upcoming series. That's what we're trying to do.
Is it any different? Last year you were the number 1 seed, but you had to play it out because it's you and Denver and Minnesota fighting for the top seed. This year you had it wrapped up so early, and you actually got to rest some guys. So you didn't have some sharp moments until you got to Memphis. Now you got another time off. Does that change the dynamic at all on what you're dealing with?
Yeah, I mean, it's just every situation is different. We're just trying to figure out we can't control a lot of this. We can't control them going to 7. I guess we could control winning our series in 4, but I mean, we're trying to win every game, and we were fortunate enough to win those 4 games. So then it's just, what's the situation and how do we maximize it? That's the best we know how to do. Fortunately, we have a mature team. And today's practice is a great example. I thought today's practice was our best practice of the week, better than the first 2 that we had. And this is a group of guys that you can go in and say, look, we understand it's another practice day. We still are a couple of days out, but we have to be very present and intentional about getting our work in today in a way that is going to maximize our preparation for the game. And they hit that really well today. So having a team that can understand that and kind of transcend the circumstances just gives you these little edges to maximize your preparation.
Mark, you've been around Shai now 6 years, whatever it is, and we talk all the time about his basketball, but Shai the person, what about him? What's the prevailing thing about him that the public or the media or somebody on the outside might not know?
He wants to be one of the greats. He also wants to be one of the guys. And I think that's like really unique. If you really think about it, he works. There's not a lot of people that want to be one that they aim that high and then put the horsepower of their work capacity behind that. He does. He wants to be great. He wants to be one of the greats. He aims as high as you could possibly aim, and he puts his work where his mouth is. But then he also, there's guys that are like that, but they kind of sometimes it seems like they operate on like a completely different spectrum than the rest of their team. And he's not like that at all. He also wants to be one of the guys. He just wants to operate like another member of the team. You see him walk around the building. He doesn't walk around the building any different than anybody else. He wants to blend into the organization, blend into the team the same way everybody else does. And I just think that balance is very unique. And then the other thing you guys have access to that I'll point out is like when you talk to him and you ask him a question, he'll pause and think. He's like incredibly thoughtful. And conscientious about what he puts his work. He gives your question the attention and the time that it deserves, and he's going to give you an answer that's thought out. And he's like that out here or in individual film or whatever. Those are a couple of things.
Or to follow up on that, when we come into practice, the tail end of practice, and he's in the half court with Dylan Jones, I don't want to assume that's an example of that, but what does that say about him? What is that when we're catching him working out with Dylan Jones?
It's like par for the course. He did it with Trey a lot. Trey Mann. He was always with Trey Mann. At a time when Trey Mann was like trying to find his way, I was always impressed by that. I think Dylan's similar. He was like that with Dub early. More so back then when he was trying to find his way. It's the one of the guys thing I was saying. Like he doesn't detach himself from the team, and everything around him at this point detaches him from the team. Like he's an all-star, all-NBA, max player, MVP candidate, probable MVP. He's got all that stuff, and that is like a gravitational pull away from the guys that he shares a locker room with. And if you want to stay in that locker room, it's an intentional choice to do so. And he makes that choice, and I don't think he's doing it like strategically. That's why I said he just wants to be one of the guys. Like if you asked him about it, I don't think he's not like, he's just doing it because that's who he is. Like he's not strategizing around that. I don't think. He's a really authentic, pure guy for somebody that's as accomplished as he is.
Go ahead.
Yes, we talked about the different rim protectors that you have, and Chet, his shot blocking is really loud. J. Will, the charges are really loud. Hart, it seems like, just does it kind of all the above, doesn't necessarily take the charges, doesn't have a ton of like loud block shots, but how would you characterize how he's so effective? I mean, I think what teams shot against him at the rim was extremely low this season. So what is it that he does to make that happen?
It's a combination of, I think the first thing is like he can really absorb contact. He's usually in between his man and the basket. And he's so strong and big and physical that, if somebody's trying to like crash in there, he's not giving ground. Chet does that with length. You can't really get to Chet's body because he's so long. Hartenstein, you can get to his body, you're just not moving him. And Horford was like that. Horford was not a great rim protector above the rim, but like you couldn't move him backwards, and Hart's like that, and he's got great length. He's also really fundamental. He's really well studied. He takes his craft really seriously. He takes all the parts of his craft seriously. He's not just working on like skill with the ball. Like he takes screening angles seriously, whether or not to hold screens or get out. He takes the rim protection stuff seriously. So he's also, I don't want to discredit the time he puts into it too. He studies hard.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.